Luka Magnotta caught in the net, apprehended in an internet cafe in Berlin. Magnotta boasted on online forums that he knew how to disappear, make himself vanish, but the experts knew that he was as stupid as he was dangerous. The cops picked up his scent in no time, tracking him down through security camera footage and cell phone usage. Here's what Frank Ahern, author of How to Disappear, said on our show last Friday.
You know, when you're going to find someone, you look behind you. You're looking for the information they're leaving behind. So typically I'll work with a client and see, what have they done in the past 60 days? Did they make calls to a new city that they're going to move to? Were they emailing, Manitoba, realtors? So I search backwards because that's the most important thing. And that's how you find where people went, by the information they left behind. So I work with clients to make sure that those trails are not located, discovered by a stalker, because those are definitely the telltale signs, because he could have emailed a realtor, in Buffalo for all we know, or in Chicago, or up in, Winnipeg or something like that. And those are the mistakes that bring people down.
That's what brings him down. Ahern, the expert, predicting it would take only 2 to 3 days to nab Magnotta. Frank, our hats off to you. Good call. You were bang on. Our surveillance society helped nab the scumbag and pluck him off the street, saving other potential victims. But all those cameras and security measures also represent an infringement on our freedoms. Is it all worth it in the name of public safety? Joining us now is forensic technologist Jeff Fischbach. Mr. Fischbach, what do you think? Worth it or not?
Oh, it's a tough call. It's a really tough call. The lucky thing for me is that I don't have to make the call. It's there. It's already out of the box, and there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes I wish we could rewind, but I guess I wouldn't have a career if they did.
Well, I'll tell you, if I were to do a survey tonight and ask people, do you think if there was a law against the police using the technical instruments that they used in the name of civil liberties, of course, do you think police should have been prevented from doing what they had to do technologically to find Magnotta? Would you agree with that law? And I would suggest to you that 80 to 90% of people in this country would say, are you kidding me? The cops need the help. The cops need the technology. Give them the technology.
Well, I think you're right. I think, and everybody feels that way until they're under the magnifying glass, or until they feel like they're under the magnifying glass. The important thing I think most people don't think about is that we're always under the magnifying glass. This is data that exists all the time. It's always available, and in some way, shape, or form, it's always being searched and accessed. So I can understand why that would make people uncomfortable, but again, there isn't really much we can do about it. I think the more important thing is that people are aware that it's there, and I think that should be a disincentive to commit a crime, if anything else.
If I were to give you that question, Ms. Fischbach, a couple of days ago, if I were to say to you, cops will have access to cell phone records and all kinds of other surveillance technology, do you think they just ought to relax, just chill out, just not use any of that in the name of civil liberties? I mean, we're looking for a potential serial killer here, but do you think the cops just should not access that technology, make the whole world feel better about civil liberties? Would you say, yeah, that's what they ought to do, Chuck, that the cops should find other methods?
Well, of course, I have a personal interest in not disagreeing with that. Again, it's my living, it's my bread and butter. But no, I think that the police should be able to use all the tools that are available to them. I think the most important thing is that as citizens, we should be aware of the trail that we lead. People should have, in some way, I want to say some control, but I guess by having knowledge, you have some control. You know what you're putting out there. But otherwise, I don't think that I wouldn't want to get in the way of law enforcement using all the tools that they have available to them.
All right, let's focus on the tools they did use, Mr. Fischbach. What was used specifically to catch him?
Well, in this case, we know for sure that they were tracking cell phone data. That much has already come out, and there's no surprise there. There hasn't been a lot of information about tracking his internet usage, but it is extraordinarily unlikely to me that they weren't, as it appears that things were being posted and his own information was being accessed, that he was accessing. It's very telling that he was found at a internet cafe. So I'm sure that they were following what's called his IP address. But there's other information that could have been tracked. I don't know if there was enough time in this particular case. It wasn't gone long enough to get into some of the other things, but Many of us today, without realizing it, are wearing very tiny wireless, what are called radio frequency ID tags, or RFID, that just come in the products that we purchase. So those kind of things can be tracked. And anything that's wireless, Wi-Fi enabled, all of those can be tracked.
Well, you know, we can talk about police accessing technology and should they access it and what kind of laws should we have and civil liberties and all the rest of it. I think we know this much about Magnotta. He can't keep his hands off technology. He can't live without technology for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and this probably describes actually a lot more people than him. That probably describes a lot of people in society. And frankly, you know, if you were to place a a real finger on what it was that was responsible for his capture, it's the same as most of the people in my career and in my experience, and that is his own stupidity or his own vanity, his own need for attention. That's generally how most people get caught.
Well, the good news, I guess, is that for these freakazoids who are potentially so lethal to so many of us, most of them are into these toys, most of them are into this technology, and that helps police in capturing them. Thank you for the work that you do and for the conversation you've had with us tonight, Mr. Fischbach. We'll call on you again down the road. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.